All right. It is Tuesday here in Cypress, Texas. And I read chapter 6 of Luke this morning. Okay, so this is really what I'm doing here, right? There's people going to be listening to this that may have read the Bible a bunch of times, like I did, or haven't read the Bible at all, or maybe read it once and didn't know what they read. Okay, so this is what you got. You got to understand who you're reading. All right, Luke was a doctor. Luke didn't walk with Christ. Luke was a companion of Paul, who didn't walk with Christ either. Okay? But he was really, really knowledgeable about the Jewish traditions and the Jewish law and the temple process, and he knew that down cold. He had that cold. He knew it like better than anybody. He was the expert. He was the subject matter expert of that. Okay? And when he came to acknowledge Christ, he was able to put that all together. Okay? And then, now he's recounting, because he wasn't there when Christ walked the earth. Okay? Or wasn't with him. So Luke is putting together third hand of the events, okay, but with an understanding, all right, because of was imparted to him by Paul. All right, so this is the dynamic. Okay, Jesus is the Christ, the anointed one, right? The one, so what does that mean, right? He's the one that has the complete knowledge of God and God's word and everything, the Paleo-Hebrew, the symbolism, all of that he owns, okay? And he's trying to impart that on the disciples who were not priests or in the process of becoming high priests. In fact, what Christ was trying to do is explain that you didn't need to be worthy of going in the temple. The temple didn't matter. The process of the temple, personalizing it, implementing it for yourself or themselves, right, was the key. Okay, but you had to have the proper understanding of what you're doing. Okay, and then when he's like, they're getting all tripped up about whether they wash their hands or whether they're doing anything. Oh yeah, this was kind of funny because I was listening to this, right? And they talked about that they went to the fields and they pulled down the corn, and there was no corn in that part of the world, in Israel or anywhere at that time. Corn came from the Americas. There was no corn until after 1492. All right, so it was wheat. Okay, and I used to do that when I was a kid all the time. Grab the wheat and crush it in your hand and blow the chaff away, and then eat the kernels of wheat. That's what they were doing, and they get criticized for that because it was like clean. That was like somehow work. They weren't supposed to work on the Sabbath, but they didn't understand the meaning of the Sabbath. The rest means completion. It's done. You've done everything, right? And that's what Christ did. He completed the law, okay? And there's all the, the Mary Magdalene breaking the perfume on his feet and crying on his feet and washing his feet with her hair, right? And then they're calling her a slut, a prostitute, right? And he's like, hey, you didn't even give me a glass of water. Zip it, right? He's putting them straight, okay? And they didn't like it. Whenever he makes anybody see something about themselves they don't like, you better stand by. They killed him because of that, right? He was showing them their ineptitude. Okay. The ruling class they were the Edomites. The Edomites were the descendants of Esau, the twin brother of Jacob. Okay, and Esau killed Nimrod, the Nimrod of the time, the king, right? Took his garments he got from Ham, from Noah, right? That gave him his power to become a king, now was in the possession of Esau. Esau became a king, okay? But he followed the faith of Baal. All his descendants were, pagans, okay? And they were allowed back into the Jewish community if they followed their traditions. And then they ended up taking over, right? They do their process. They followed the plan and were the high priest and the king of the time. Okay, they were attempting. Judah was an Edomite. Judah was attempted to infiltrate Christianity. Okay, that's their process. That's what they do. They're still around. Okay, all right. Well, I am trying to get now. I'm hoping somebody can hear what I am saying. And so now when you read the Bible, you are getting what you're supposed to get out of it. You're understanding what's really happening. Okay? Christ was from the proper lineage and birthright. Okay? Christ and John the Baptist. What was supposed to happen was John the Baptist was filling the role of Elijah and teaching everybody, preparing everybody for the Christ, for Jesus, all right, to be, the representative of God at that time, right? But he got taken out before he got a chance to educate everybody about the process. So Christ had a double duty. He had to do both, all right? And so he had double duty. He was having to teach and be the king and rule at the same time. All right. So I hope that's enough, because it's still going on to this day. I learned what I learned, and I'm teaching it to you, all right? That you might dig in and learn more. You can teach it to others, because I don't know it. I ain't even close to knowing it all. All right. But yeah, so that's why I'm doing what I do.